Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Dr. G Show. Tonight we're going to be talking about something that's vital for everybody, which is sleep. So make sure that you guys like the video and please share it with others. And actually, let me make sure. Oh, okay, it is. Okay, so I was thinking I did a video earlier where I was only myself there. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about sleep, and sleep has there's a lot of different moving parts within sleep. Everything from the circadian rhythm to hormones, to neurotransmitters, to lifestyle, to sleep hygiene, and we're going to talk about all those things. Hey, and Carrie's on, and as you guys join, it's great to have you guys on. There's Diana, and I welcome you guys. Make sure you like and share your Facebook, the live feed as we go through. And of course, those of you guys watching online or offline, still feel free to post your questions. I try to go through those and answer them with good diligence there. Hey, we have some, I don't know, I'll try to ask questions through this too with perspective to what you guys have questions about sleep. So sleep is like 1/3 of our life, if we're lucky. So for a third of our life, all we do is nothing. That doesn't make any sense. And what's funny is I read in the journal Cell today it was an article about the genetics of sleep. And it says sleep remains one of the big mysteries in biology. As a state that seemingly freezes all productive activity and puts animals in danger of being caught by predators, sleep must serve an important purpose because it has survived for so many evolutions. And that's the really interesting part of that. Hey, Diana. And Shelby's on here too. So Shelby's reading, the new book called Why We Sleep just came out, and they were talking about it on NPR Science Friday last week. It was very interesting. So I was very excited about that because it touched on what we're talking about. And so Shelby's reading listening to a podcast about sleep too. Probably why you're watching the show. So, So what is it? 1/3 of our life is asleep, but 2/3 of Americans are sleep deprived. What was really interesting is learning that humans are the only animal that purposely delays sleep. And if you guys have cats and dogs, you probably notice they're just going to go to sleep. When they're ready, they're going to sleep. But humans are the only ones that are like, I just can't sleep. I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm not going to go to sleep. And if you guys have had kids, holy crap, right? I mean, that kid's just crying because it's tired. And you're just like, just go to sleep. But why do we do that? So I want to hear you guys' questions as we go through this. But I want to talk. I got quite a few notes here. And I was going through several different books and research journals to kind of look at some of the factual stuff that were really interesting to me. Have you guys ever, Shelby's got 5 kids, so she's been sleep deprived for 23 years. That's exactly true, right? Have you guys ever been going to sleep or kind of drifting off and then suddenly you kind of jerk, right? I used to do this. I used to have a big fear of dogs, and now I don't. But dog barking in my little subconscious dream state would make me jerk and back awake. So they have a term for this. It's called hypnic jerks. Kind of like hippie jerks. Or, what are those, hipsters? Hipsters? Hey, Suzanne. Howdy. So, hypnic jerks. Have you guys ever experienced that? I've done, I don't know, maybe when I was younger. But also when you're kind of sleeping your feet off and you like that. That's a hypnic jerk. So now you guys have a word to explain what that is. And Carrie says she hates jerks. I hate hypnic jerks. They're kind of disturbing to me. So 15% of the population, or so we said, was it 1/3, 2/3? 2/3, 75% of the American population is sleep deprived, and we purposely, as mammals, deprive ourselves of sleep to basically do other stuff, right? But 15% of the population are sleepwalkers. Are any of you guys sleepwalkers? How do you deal with that? Is your partner a sleepwalker? So tell us about it. I think that's really interesting. I actually dated a girl that takes Ambien. And that was weird. So, like, where is it? Here we go. Some of the side effects of Ambien was like memory loss, anxiety, nightmares, eating, depression, suicidal thoughts. So that's great, right? And then you also can have sleep sex and sleep walk and sleep drive. So people like end up like, I remember when Ambien first came out, there was all this crazy stuff going on where people were just like going to get fast food and they don't remember it. Or they would eat a bunch of food and they don't remember it. But this girl, she would have to like put food in her car so that way she wouldn't have Ambien. Just a minute, I want to see what someone posted there. But so she wouldn't end up eating all this food all night, which was just seemed bizarre to me. Like, it's like, get off that stuff, but sleep, you know, you got to figure it out. So that's what we want to talk about tonight. Shelby says that she functions pretty good at 6 hours of sleep. But does that mean that she's gotten used to it, or is that what she needs? So that's a great question, Shelby. And, you know, I face the same thing. So I used to get like maybe 5-6 hours of sleep, and I felt fantastic and like razor sharp, and all through grad school, like I did not need sleep. And most of my youth, I didn't need sleep. I was the guy that was all, I think I'm extroverted now. Oh my God. You know, I was always on the go. But when I got through school, we were talking about, you know, sleep and how important it is. And, you know, they come up with these sleep estimates of like, you need 8 hours of sleep. And so I thought, I need to get more sleep. And what ended up happening is I would just lay there, and then I was like, oh, I got insomnia because I can't sleep. What am I going to do about this? And what's interesting is that in that book, Why We Sleep, it talks about that. It's like genetically, there's certain gene variations where some people need less sleep, some people need more sleep. And I think earlier today I posted on my Facebook feed the average sleep per age. And so they keep changing that, and you'll see, 7.5 to 8 hours, whatever, is like the optimal amount of sleep. But the optimal amount of sleep for you is what's the optimal amount of sleep for you. And so there's the bell curve that we have. And so we try to chop off both ends of the bell curve, and we say, this is normal, or expected, or functional. But what about the people in the end, right? So it actually will cause more harm trying to force yourself to be a 7 to 8 hour sleeper if that is not your core or your optimal amount of sleep. So that's one of the questions, just like the kind of practice I do, which is that functional lifestyle medicine, is what's normal for you, right? And it's not the same for everybody else. And so one of the things that they talked about with that book was, you know, if you get 6 hours of sleep and you feel great and you're not tired and taking naps, well, then that's probably normal for you, right? So Shelby, you probably are normal. That's normal. You're not average. You're not in that 80% of the bell curve or where the hell they cut off for that one. So that's the critical question when it comes to sleep. If they said a lot of sleep insomnia is not sleep insomnia. It's people going to sleep when they're not ready to go to sleep. And that's not staying up too late, those kind of situations, but really trying to force yourself to get more sleep than you actually need, or your body's genetically derived for. So that's one of the keys in that, is to say, how well do I function during the day? Am I alert? Am I happy? Am I excited? Or am I just like dying inside? And if you're dying inside and you need a nap, you're probably not getting enough sleep. What's funny is, okay, so we spend 1/3 of our lives asleep. Cats, I have 2 of these things, they sleep 2/3 of their day. So they're twice, sleeping twice as much as you are. So Lazy ass cats. I don't know what dogs are. Probably about the same. And then 25% of couples sleep in different beds. So if you guys want to admit that, let me know. I know a lot of times it's for snoring, but even like you can have someone that's more of a light sleeper, so they usually have like high cortisol, high stress, so they're not able to hit that deep sleep or the delta waves. And then you have the other person kind of snoring and moving around, and they are easily stirred. And normally, I am like rock solid a sleep person, but there's those times where like the other person has like a little whistle in their nose when they're just sleeping. They're just not snoring, but there's that little whistle, and you're just like staring daggers at them. And it's like you just But I don't have much to say because I'm more of a well, mostly in the past, I think a snorer. So I think when I was less healthy, I had more inflammation, I snored more. And there's a great story sometime I'll tell you about that. But so 25% of married couples sleep in separate beds. And then this is pretty interesting. So in 1964, a guy set the world record for staying awake with no sleep, and it was 11 days. 11 days. And that actually is about the amount of time that it may actually kill you. I don't know if you guys have watched that movie Altered States back in the day, but that was an experiment, and they did the same thing with the Twilight Zone back in the old black and white days, where sleep deprivation changes your brain function. You can actually go insane because of it. So this guy, back in '64, set the record at 11 days with no sleep. 0 sleep. 11 days. So you're more likely to die from sleep deprivation than you are food deprivation. Because again, hell, I went 10 days earlier this year with no food, right? You can do 40 days. So that's not a big deal. But sleep is huge. And so that's one of those big mysteries that we talked about, like this Journal Cell talked about, or that quoted there was, it's still one of the big mysteries of what the hell goes on when they're asleep. So even with people that tend to say, I don't get enough sleep, I don't sleep, I'm just constantly awake, all that stuff, I haven't slept for like weeks, that's not true typically, right? Most times people just don't, remember your sleep with that. So if you're not, if you're sleep deprived and you are just dying and falling asleep at the stoplights, which I've seen before, that's true sleep deprivation. Most people are just maybe not remembering their dreams or not remembering sleeping. There's times where you close your eyelids and then 6 hours later you're like opening and you feel like you just shut your eyelids, like you felt like you didn't sleep at all. But you got sleep because you're not dozing off during the day. This was interesting. Let's see what Bradshaw has to say. He has a biological clock that tells me that 11 a.m. or 11 at night, my body tells me to go to bed. Yeah, so that's good. Some people, that's the one thing about tracking your sleeping habits is just because someone says that you got to go to bed at 10, that's not normal for everybody. Some people it's 11 o'clock, some people it's 1 o'clock, some people it's 2 o'clock. But really it's what's functioning well for you. Now if you're sleeping horrible and you have this, going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, then that's probably not normal for you or not healthy for you. But really, like Bradshaw is doing, is realizing where that biological clock is set for you, for your optimal functioning. 40% of people sleep in fetal position, and I'm going to ask you guys this question, so if you would, especially if you've seen Dr. Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on power positions, is the fetal position a high stress position that raises stress hormones, or is it low stress? And what is well, we'll wait on the second question for that. But post that, okay? So what do you guys think? Is fetal position, where you're sleeping like this, is that a high stress or low stress position? So I'm not going to tell you the answer yet. And then we'll talk about body position too. How long should falling asleep take? Oh, so Suzanne says low, Carrie says low. Lynn says low. Well, so far, everybody thinks low. Oh, Brianna, she's got to go the other way. That's high stress position. So, what do you guys think? Fetal position, what does it say, 40%? 40%, almost half the population sleeps in the fetal position. Connie says low. That's a lot of lows. How many of you guys sleep in fetal position? Probably like half you guys. The stats are right. Well, and so if you remember, like Dr. Amy Cuddy's research, it's not about sleep, but it's about body position, cortisol, and testosterone. And what she found out was that evolutionary-wise, if you cross midline, your stress goes up. If you cover up your neck, if you cover up your abdomen, if you cover up your genitals, sleep or stress goes up. And so like Brianna says, she says, I think fetal position is protective, and it is. So fetal position typically means I'm not safe, I'm going to hunch over. So it protects your tender neck and abdomen and genitals, so you're sleeping like that, right? And I used to sleep like that too, because obviously it was very stressful. So I thought, I watched that Amy Cuddy TED Talk, and I noticed that when I put my daughters to bed that night, that they were sleeping with their arms over their head, which is, I think, the free fall position. And I thought, okay, that's the most de-stressing position, because when you're sleeping like this on your back, it means everything's open, you have no fears, no risk, and so you are just de-stressed. And what that does is it lowers cortisol and raises testosterone for you, whereas fetal position should raise lower testosterone and raise cortisol levels. So we mimic a position of stress, even though that might be a comfortable or position for us. We're actually mimicking stress. So I started trying to sleep in that free fall position, which then would match that research and see if what I thought. And it was very de-stressing. Like, it just felt like I was melting into the bed. So you guys have some homework to do, and I want you guys to try some different things and see what you think. So try sleeping with your arms above your head like this. You might have to scoot down if you got a headboard, but try to sleep with your arms above your head in a comfortable position. And then notice, how does my body feel? Like, be self-aware of that. Versus if you sleep on your side or you sleep on your belly. But there is stuff like sleeping on your stomach actually helps with digestion and stuff, but that should be fine by itself. I don't know. Sleeping on belly is a protective position too. So falling asleep, that's always a good topic. How long should it take to fall asleep? What do you guys think? How long does it take you to fall asleep? I'm usually, hey, there's Missy. I'm usually pretty rock solid. If I try to go to sleep when I'm not ready to go to sleep, I will just be like thinking about stuff and tossing and turning. But if I wait till I need to go to sleep, man, I'm like a rock. I hit that pillow and just poof, right? So that's also one of the things to think about when you guys are, say, if you have tossing and turning, that kind of stuff, is maybe you should stay up later. Maybe that's better for you. So 10 to 15 minutes is the average of how long it should go to sleep. If it's taking you more than 10 to 15 minutes, you might need to get back up and it's not your circadian rhythm. But really kind of tracking that data, we do that with patients sometimes, kind of tracking when they fall asleep, when they wake up, how easy it is to fall back asleep, all those kind of things, which, I'm making a note, because I learned something new from that book. So we have a couple different comments here too I want to go back through. So Suzanne says, I don't sleep total fetal. Oh, tote feet, right? You're so hip. But knees up, side, heart, circadian rhythm. So, and then her son Alex sleeps in free fall, right? So pay attention to that. Let's see what you guys think. What's the least amount of stress you have or how do you feel when you lay in different positions for sleep for maybe a week. And then Shelby says it drives her husband crazy because I can go to sleep so fast, but I also read before bed. Yeah, reading, good Lord, that'll make you go to sleep. So one of the things with that then would be, if sleep hygiene too, is you don't want to really watch TV to go to sleep. But I notice with me, and this isn't the right way because this does not match the research, but like I'll go to sleep to like The Office or something like Netflix where it might play an episode or two and then it stops. But one of those things where my mind will be engaged with it, and then when my mind is ready to go to sleep, I just go to sleep and I wake up well rested. Like, it works beautifully for me. But for other people, that doesn't work. Now, if I watch something that I haven't seen before, or something that's really captivating, I can't sleep, right? But The Office, I've seen that thing 20 times. And so it's kind of like background music to me. Also with Alexa, I'll tell Alexa to play Rainstorm or something like that. And so again, she plays a little Rainstorm, and as long as it's very subtle, I can fall asleep, and then she shuts off. So finding those things that work for you. So Deb says she can go to sleep with the TV on, and then her timer shuts it off after a couple hours. So it's good. If it works for you. That's the key. I gotta say, I think it's like magic for me. What about, so I'm gonna ask a couple questions, and then we'll talk about some more facts and stuff, and touch on some things. You guys keep posting your stuff. But what about alcohol? Does alcohol make it easier to sleep? Does it give you better sleep? What about caffeine for some people? What's the other one? Melatonin. And is that it? Yeah. So think about melatonin. So what do you guys think about that? And then what about alcohol? And then the same thing with Ambien. Connie says no, right away, just no. So let me go back. I got to scroll. You guys are doing a good job of it. So Carrie plays a recorded lecture until she falls asleep. That was the deal back in graduate school, was can you play these recordings over and over like your lectures, and does it end up in your brain? I don't know. I posted one time that I have, when I was replacing my, good Lord, you guys really did some talking here. Okay. So Carrie says one wine helps her sleep, 2 wines makes her stay awake. And so Carrie, is that red wine, white wine? What is that? I would suppose red wine would make you go to sleep. White wine should make you stay awake because of the epinephrine part of that, from the high glycemia. Suzanne says wine for heart circulation. So Carrie says red wine. Brianna says alcohol is a depressant. And then Missy actually talks about, what about the blue light from electronics? Yeah, definitely. Red LEDs and red lights, like in your bathroom, won't stimulate the part of your brain. So these little rodons that cause you to wake up, that's stimulated by these lateral neurons. But blue light will, white light will, green light will. So you got to put a piece of tape over those kind of lights, because even that one little tiny blue LED that's on the TV or something, or on your phone, when you turn on all the lights, that thing glows, and that stimulates the brain that you're awake, that it's the sun's coming up, right? And Brianna actually, I know she got filter for her glasses that takes out the blue light. And then also, I noticed on my new iPhone 10, it just automatically takes out, it changes color at night. Especially the later it gets, it has more of a reddish hue. I've noticed that. My friend's computer, I was trying to help her with a project late at night, and the screen was all reddish color. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, what the hell's going on? And she said it's this program that takes out the blue hue, so that way it doesn't keep stimulating. But hell, if you're working on a project late at night, I need some more stimulation. So that did not work out very well. So yeah, electronics really mess things up. Those LEDs, a night light, even a light for a fish tank, those kind of things can make dramatic differences on how alert you are and how well you fall asleep. And what you don't want to do is stimulate with blue or white light. So, yeah, you know, Megan says, I have a 5-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. What is sleep? Yeah. And you know, there's times, okay, so Megan, here's a good question that they came up with too, and then we'll go back to the alcohol question. Can you make up sleep? So that's the next question is, can you make up sleep? And there's some new research that just came out on this that kind of explains it, and we'll talk about that. Lynn says, thinking alcohol as a stimulant effective first and then a depressant. So, you know, that's a good thing. Is like, so Carrie was talking about how one wine sleepy, 2 wines awake. I think I'm the opposite. I think the more wine well, there's a little buffer and then it's crazy time. So one of the things about the research with wine, or say alcohol by itself, a lot of times people have a nightcap, right? So they'll have a drink or two, and that tends to say, well, I feel more relaxed and then I can go to sleep easier. But it's a depressant. So Ambien's the same way, alcohol's the same way. They're depressants, but that doesn't mean better sleep. So you might go to sleep and stay asleep, but you'll actually not go into deep REM sleep, and then you'll end up more tired. And then you end up with more coffee in the morning, and then 2 cups of coffee, and then 4 cups of coffee, and then a couple pots of coffee, and then you're getting jacked up, and then you got to take more stuff to crash, and it becomes this mess. So alcohol tends to not allow for better sleep. So it may allow you to go to sleep, but it is not better quality of sleep. Let's see if I made a note here too. So sedation is not sleep. Alcohol blocks REM sleep, dream sleep, which is critical for brain and emotional restitution. So basically, you end up more tired, you know, and then you cope more with the stimulants. Okay, so alcohol, probably not very good for that. And then, what we got? Alcohol, and then we're going to talk about, sleep. Can you make sleep up? Like if you are sleep deprived, can you make it back up? So long periods of time you cannot. And this is kind of like nutrition, right? So if you eat really crappy for a few days, can you make it up on the weekend? Yes and no, right? So when you needed that metabolic function and you didn't have enough thiamine or B6 or magnesium, those moments are over. You're screwed at that point, right? So if you're trying to make something awesome happen and it didn't happen, you're not getting that back. But overall, if we amp up that nutrition over the weekend, yeah, you can restore functions back and help replace and regenerate. And it's the same with sleep. If you have sleep deprivation for, like a mom, right, like Megan's talking about, you can make that up on the weekend. And that's one of those critical things of allowing you to give yourself permission to sleep in on the weekends. Let him or the older kids take care of them. Let them freaking watch TV for a little bit. It's fine. If you don't get your sleep, then everybody goes downhill very, very quickly. So, as a mom, Megan, you have to get your sleep. So even making it up is okay. Even naps are okay. And naps for some people, basically, I don't know. So I want to ask this question too from you guys. Do naps rejuvenate you, or do they make you mad or irritate you or make you worse? Because naps for me, holy crap, 99% of the time, it makes me just, I don't know, angry, but just like frustrated and just like, I don't know, it's very uncomfortable. I do not like taking naps at all. I'd rather just go to sleep. So do do naps rejuvenate you guys, or do they make it worse? So now that's with that sleep makeup though. If you're a mom or a parent, when that kid takes a nap, you take a nap. That is not time for you to get stuff done and get ahead, because as a parent, you do not ever get ahead. The laundry is never done. The dishes are never done. The house is never clean. So forget about it. Forget about it, right? Just be human and take your damn nap. Be okay with giving yourself permission to take a nap, okay? It's okay. Life will go on. But if you, as a mom, moms are the biggest martyrs there are, so they will exhaust themselves and try to do everything possible, and then when they just burn out, candle both ends, they have nothing left, then they feel guilty. Don't be that person. Don't burn out. Your kids look at you for what to do to be healthy, so take your naps. On the weekends, sleep in. Let them do whatever the hell they want to do, short of like, setting the house on fire. But you can make up sleep on the weekends overall. So, okay, so I think we may be giving our 3.5-year-old more screen time if it means I can get... Hell yeah, that's right. It's okay. My generation, we grew up okay. We had lots of screen time. Lots of screen time. Lots of outdoors time. A lot of free range. But hell, when my mom needed sleep, it was just like, go watch cartoons. Mama's sleeping. Right? She needed her sleep. She worked 2 jobs. She needed her sleep. And it's okay. So, be kind to yourself. So you can make up sleep short term. You cannot make up sleep long term. So give yourself permission to sleep in on the weekends if you need to. Which is funny because now some of you guys that are my patients, you may notice me contradicting myself, but that's because as we learn more, we evolve and change our recommendations. So don't think that I'm being a hypocrite. As we learn different things, and it's okay. So usually we say keep the same schedule on the weekends. But if that doesn't work out for you, be flexible. It'll be okay. It'll be okay, you know? So, falling asleep 10 to 15 minutes. Humans are the only ones to delay sleep. What's funny is 1942, like 60, 70 years ago, the average American got 7.9 hours of sleep. The average American now gets 1 hour less sleep. So we recharge our phones, but we don't recharge ourselves. And the National Sleep Foundation, the average is 8. But again, that's not necessarily the same for you. What's funny is as we are more and more sleep deprived, and we're typically doing it so we can be this one amazing super person that doesn't exist, but we just kind of destroy ourselves or crumble from the inside. And it's apparent so much that there's a new term in HR called presenteeism. And that's because, and the study just came out today, another one, but it says the average American's only productive 15 minutes out of every day they're at work. 15 minutes. And what they're finding is that, especially if those over 40, they are more productive the less time they're at work. So, and if they take naps at work, which cuts down on critical losses and poor performance and sick time and all that kind of stuff. So there's actually companies that are putting in nap time as a part of their day. And I remember when I was a kid, I had nap time. We would drink our little carton of milk, and we had to take a rug to school, and we'd lay down on that rug, and the teacher would read us a bedtime story, and all the kids would go to sleep. They cut that out because they weren't gotta add more stuff. We don't need to take naps, but they need to go back to that. It actually is more effective. People are more productive. Students are more productive. And so we're doing the same thing to students that we're doing to employees, and we don't realize that we're actually causing more harm than benefit with that. So those people that work more and more and more and more, right? We work more than any other country. We're not more productive. And so you're paying your employees more money to do less work than just saying what's the most effective. And then fatigue, though, is accumulative. So the more and more that we are depriving ourselves of that hour of sleep or 2 hours of sleep, eventually it catches up to us. And that's where some people end up, falling asleep at the stoplight. Have you guys ever done that? Falling asleep at the stoplight? There's times where doing research or, with kids and stuff, there was times where, like, I went to work and I was just barely keeping my eyes open, and I'm trying to help patients and I'm trying to do everything, and good Lord, I don't know if the patients notice, but I was just like in my brain, like, just stay awake, you can do this. So fatigue is cumulative. So you have to be able to give yourself permission to go to sleep, figure out what your sleep time is. Missing one night's sleep. So pulling an all-nighter. One night. So Carrie's in grad school, she knows this. Okay, so missing one night's sleep is equivalent to having a blood alcohol level of 0.1, which is above legal limit. So, for people that are parents, what we do to our kids, people that drive, like the truck drivers and stuff, and especially employees, it's like hiring alcoholics to function. I think the research for residents in hospitals, in nurses, it was after 12 hours, the reaction time is the same as a functional alcoholic. And so, holy crap, was it? And there's a oh shoot, where's that stat at? Oh, here we go. Doctors and healthcare workers make 5 times the serious diagnostic errors in a 24-hour shift than those that have normal shifts, like 8-hour shifts. Why the hell are we making people work 24-hour shifts? That's crazy. But not only after 12 hours are they a functional alcoholic, but after 24 hours, with a 24-hour shift, they are making 5 times the amount of serious errors. That's crazy. That's a huge liability. So, we got some more comments here. So, any idea that might cause my preschooler in trying to take longer naps after lunch and sleeping more, with restless at night? So, was it preschooler? So, a lot of times it has to do with synthetic colors, synthetic chemicals. A lot of those, especially MSG, are neurotoxic, but they're neuroexcitatory toxins. Those can cause those kind of problems. Lots of sugar will do it. The average American consumes about 150 pounds of sugar, which actually will then absorb sugar, overproduce insulin, crash, and then you end up with this production of epinephrine or cortisol to try to get blood sugar back up through gluconeogenesis through the liver. And then it'll end up causing basically fight or flight without reason, or general anxiety disorder without a reason for anxiety. So a lot of times those sleep disturbances can be high glycemic foods. Cheerios, for one, is high glycemic. The rice crackers, rice cakes that you give kids sometimes. Again, we did the same thing when we were young. We didn't know. And those things actually raise epinephrine, which then can seriously affect your sleep, or your kids' sleep too, let alone caffeine. I can't tell you when I did pediatric rounds, how many patients were like, and I'm not saying you, but other, but they would be putting Dr. Pepper in the baby bottles, and they're just like, well, the kid needs its hydration. I mean, it's hot out. I was like, holy crap, that kid's never going to sleep. So little things like glycemic load makes a huge difference. So white rice versus brown rice means anxiety, not getting sleep, versus going to sleep. Or black rice or red rice, purple rice, forbidden rice. Those are real. Yeah? All right. So black rice, red rice are awesome. Just as antioxidant as blueberries. Helps you sleep. So, there's a lot of stuff you'll see on Facebook, too, about how we're sleep depriving high school students and elementary school students, where we're trying to basically just make them do more and more and more and more and get up earlier and earlier. But the reality is they're functioning less. We are now one of the dumbest countries in the industrialized world, right? A lot of that has to do with artificial colors and MSG, which are neurotoxic. They cause up to 3,000 to 5,000 to 8,000% decrease in brain neuron growth, let alone all those things that we eat that are fried and donuts and I don't know, chili fries that decrease brain growth. So then we end up, by the time we're overweight, 4% smaller brains, obese, 8% smaller brains. So, you know. Okay, so Megan says, dude, which I appreciate that. I like that. We are pretty clean diet. He only has Cheerios before bed. So it might be something as simple as the Cheerios. Like, I didn't know Cheerios were just sugar. They're just sugar. So starches are just sugar bound to oxygen bound to sugar bound to oxygen bound to sugar. But Cheerios are high glycemic. So they're promoted as a great, you know, kind of thing for kids to eat. But we did the same thing. We fed our kids Cheerios until I learned that you're not supposed to, and I was like, oh shoot, all right, so not doing that for the next one. Yeah, so a good bedtime snack. Serotonin, or let's go up here. Tryptophan makes 5-hydrotryptophan through B vitamins and magnesium. So beans, greens, fermented foods convert tryptophan into 5-hydrotryptophan, which then makes serotonin. Now, serotonin by itself is stimulatory, right? It keeps you awake and alert, and it's helpful for that. Also mood function, that kind of stuff. But serotonin converts into melatonin through SAMe, which is created by B12 or methyl B12. So that's where, like, beans and greens, fermented foods are they actually help you sleep. There's a great book called, like, Potatoes Not Prozac, but it talks about the tryptophan-rich foods that are, you know, fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, and greens that actually help with sleep. So maybe nuts before bed, handful of cashews instead of Cheerios would be a lot better for the kid. So, yeah, and don't beat yourself up, because we only know what we know. And I honestly, I was feeding my first daughter, fish sticks and mac and cheese and corn because that's what I was raised on. That's what I was told was healthy. But then, of course, as I learned, I was just like, oh, damn it. All right. So now I have daughters that eat tofu and tempeh and minnows. So, all right. Few other things here too. Mood, obviously, we want to be healthy and happy and hormonally balanced, but as you know, sleep-deprived people, they're not very nice. So, my mom was sleep-deprived for the whole time we were kids, and mostly because I was maybe a little challenged, maybe a little tiny bit of a challenge. Pretty sure my sisters were worse. But my mom didn't get a lot of sleep, and so, you didn't mess with her. So, let's see. Deepest sleep is non-REM sleep, and this is kind of interesting because they say, well, as you get older, you're not sleeping as much. You don't get that deep sleep. So they say by age 50, the average American's getting 50% less deep sleep, so less quality by age 50. By age 70, 90% loss of deep sleep. But the question is that normal, or is it just the American phenomenon where we just screw it all up and then we say, well, we're just getting older, you fall apart? And it's more of that. It's more of, let's stop causing the problem and let's feed our body. So Lynn has a good question. Is SAMe better than melatonin? So one thing about hormones is you don't want to take hormones. Melatonin is a hormone. It's an end product. So we don't want to do end products because end products for hormones and neurotransmitters downregulate your own production through negative feedback. The only two positive feedback systems you have in your body are birthing and clotting. So once you dump that baby out like that, you want things to go back to normal and stop, right? So that's a positive feedback, that's it. Clotting, you don't want to keep clotting. Once you clot it off that blood, it should stop. But everything else in the body is negative feedback. It's too much, too little, too much, too little, right? So if you add in a hormone as a supplement, then you're telling your body you're making more than you really are. So your body says, great, I'll make less. And then you just up the dose. And then it says, wow, I'm doing really good. I need to make even less. And it keeps doing that until you're screwed, right? So don't take bioidentical hormones. Don't take synthetic hormones. If you have glands, they should be doing their damn job. And if they're not doing their job, then you got to figure out why. right? So the main source of kind of food that you want for your hormones is to give the structures to it and allow it to make the end products. So like tryptophan or 5-hydrotryptophan or SAMe might be good, right? So these things that are like, you might take B6 or B complex and go to sleep easier because now you can convert it. You may take magnesium, which is great, citrate, better absorption rate, natural calm, great, right? Mood, brain function, sleep, muscle, that's great stuff. So take that then helps convert the tryptophan, but it won't over-convert. It won't down-regulate. It won't mess up the system like taking melatonin will do. Plus, melatonin is a long way away. So melatonin starts with the body starting to get tired, but it's not what really makes you go to sleep. That's what I thought, and that's what I was taught. But after reading that book, Why We Sleep, the reality is GABA is what makes you sleep. GABA, or was it gamma amino butyric acid? Yeah, I got an A on the test. So GABA is really what you would want to supplement. So if you're going to supplement GABA, that would probably be fine. The precursors to that is glutamic acid. You don't want to be doing that. So it's better just to do GABA. So that's okay, theoretically. But I wouldn't be too crazy about that. Because again, GABA should just be being made, right? I mean, we don't need to supplement that. It should just be made for us. And GABA promotes sleep, but all the other ones, histamine, dopamine, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, octopamine, those promote wakefulness. So that's where like histamines for like food sensitivities, that can make people have sleep problems. Again, not histamine-rich food, but histamine-producing T-cell dysregulation molecular mimicry that we talked about before. Dopamine, which usually you think about dope down, so that should be good, right? But dopamine actually makes you kind of feel happy and alert, so that's a little bit different. Brianna has a question like, how does holy basil help you sleep? So that's a great question, right? One of my favorite topics is the reticular activating system and the reticular inactivating system. So you guys should know this. We'll start out with this. What is the average time that people wake up in the middle of the night? So if someone says, man, I wake up like every night, what is the average time they wake up? And this will probably be like the fastest answer ever, but I actually have a book about this too. But so Brianna says this holy basil work, right? So holy basil is also called Tulsi, which was used by the Native Americans. Then you have ashwagandha, schistosandra, rhodiola, eulithro. Yeah, and you guys are all right? Marcia said 3, Carrie says 3, Brianna says 3. 3 a.m. is the most common time to wake up. And that's because that's when cortisol peaks. So if cortisol peaks, but within this range, you don't wake up, but your heart starts beating faster, your lungs start breathing faster, your gut starts moving better, you start really cleaning up the blood through the kidneys and making urine for the first time. So that way everything's all jacked up, ready to go, and then at 6 a.m., alarm goes off, sun comes up, boom, I'm ready to go. That's how it should be. And then it's shutting off lights, and then you go to sleep, and then you stay asleep and wake up well rested. But if you go to sleep with extra cortisol, it passes that threshold and it stimulates what's called the reticular activating system, and then you wake up for no reason. But you are waking up for a reason because you're stressed. And there's 2 types of that stress. There's the Skinner situation, Skinner box situation, where we don't even realize how stressed we are. We're just coping very well. I can cope, I can rub dirt in it. I'm a good American, right? But that doesn't work very well. It works, distraction and eating for stress, it works until it doesn't work. And then eventually your sleep gets screwed. So, something like Tulsi tea or any of those adaptogens, they actually help lower stress or cortisol production so that you can go to sleep and stay asleep and wake up well rested. You don't have that 3 a.m. wake up. Now, short term, that's great. Like Yogi bedtime tea is a great little mix of those. There's a product called Adrena Sense, which is a pink bottle that has several different adaptogens in there. But adrenal adaptogens are great because they allow you to down-regulate cortisol if it's too high, or up-regulate it if you're exhausting your cortisol. So it manages it without messing it up, and that's what we want. So in saying that, you might try like a Tulsi tea or a chamomile tea. Like, I can't drink chamomile tea. I'm too chillaxed anyways. I'm like an extrovert that's like chilled. So if I drink chamomile tea, then I'm just like this. Like, I cannot pull it together. But for someone that's high stress, say an introvert maybe, a high sensitive, or HSP, high sensitivity person, or both, right? Or an internalizer, yeah. Those people better suck down that tea like crazy. They need to like inject it. So those teas throughout the day even will be a miracle for those patients, or not patients, people, people. So something like that's a good idea. And there's lots of different ones, but try the ones and kind of see. There's a stress relief tea by Yogi. You know, there's all kinds. Just don't get bedtime tea from Celestial Seasonings. It's not as good. Oh, what about valerian root? So that is one, as we kind of finish up here, you know, valerian root's amazing. And I don't know if you guys watched Fight Club, but I watched it several times. Never noticed, you guys probably noticed, like, Brad Pitt's my doppelganger. I kind of like to, don't like to brag about that, but. So, in the movie Fight Club, he, was that Ed Norton? Yeah, he goes to his buddy doctor in the emergency room. He's like, I need something to sleep. I have insomnia. I haven't slept in days, right? And his doctor is like, nope, I'm not giving you anything. Try valerian root. And so I've never noticed that. But just recently when I watched it, I was like, that's what I'm talking about, valerian root. So valerian root's a cheap-ass root that's stinky, but it is awesome. It works on your benzodiazepine pathways, which is the same as Xanax, without the Xanax addiction. So that's pretty cool. So valerian is also a natural muscle relaxer. So if you're all tense and tight, you take that, and in the morning you're just like, oh, everything moves and great. It's a wonderful thing. So going to sleep, staying asleep, wake well rested. Kids that have like some urinary incontinence, like they pee their bed, we've done very well with doing valerian root to help that, because you're not supposed to be making pee when you're asleep. It's too much cortisol. Valerian helps reduce that, same as like an adaptogen would too. So those are good. Sleep genetics we haven't touched on just yet either. Oh, how's valerian spelled? So Marcia had a question. So VLEERIAN, maybe? Valerian? I'm Texas educated, so I don't know. Valerian sounds right. There's a movie that came out, but I think it has an E instead of A, and I thought they made a movie about valerian, but it's not. It's some sci-fi thing. So then you have sleep genetics. And, it's kind of interesting. It gets overly complicated. Only 1% of things are genetics, so we don't get too crazy about genetics. 99% of things are just lifestyle. What are we doing to cause this stuff? But with the genetics, there's a couple interesting genes called PER, and then there's also the clock gene. But what they do is they regulate those neurotransmitters. And you can change those gene outputs a little bit through something called epigenetics. So what we eat, what we drink, what we think even affects that stuff. Even they said, sleep cycles are hereditary. So we can actually kind of like mess up people's sleep cycles and then make our kids mess up theirs by reproducing that. But it can always go back to normal. So, what did Valerie say? Valerie's name's almost Valerian. Yeah, that's what she's saying. I was making the same joke. We see it. All right. A couple others. So with those genes, basically, it goes back to epigenetics of what do we do, sleep cycles, that kind of stuff, changing our sleep hygiene. There's a few interesting studies that have come out. Of course, avoiding technology, alcohol, caffeine, that's kind of a no-brainer. Keeping your phone out so you don't have that noise anxiety of somebody posted something, you're just like, I wonder what they posted, and then you can't go to sleep. But relaxation response, meditation, mindfulness, right? Those are really great ways to kind of down-regulate, get yourself into that sleep mode. I know with my daughters, if you didn't do a sleep hygiene routine, it was chaos. Like, they just kept getting up, daddy, 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 daddy. But if it was brush your teeth, and then put on your jammies, and then we read a story, and then you go to bed, then all of a sudden they would always go to sleep. So, training your brain is the same way. You can train those genes to change. You can actually change your circadian rhythm. There's two really interesting things that came out the last couple of years. But the colder your bedroom is, actually the more sound you sleep. And then also heavier blankets tend to help you sleep more sound too. So there's all kinds of controversy, like what kind of bed should I get? What kind of sheeting should I get? What about this? What about that? But those are two that I found pretty fascinating that you can change. So a little bit cooler bedroom and even heavier blankets. I remember sleeping at my grandparents and they had a down blanket, but not down like these kind of downs we have today, but down like it was like 30 pounds of weight on you. And that's what they're talking about, is that kind of weight to where you kind of feel, I think, just secure. And then you end up going to sleep and sleeping more sound because of that. Even B vitamins can help with sleep. We touched on that a little bit again. Beans, greens, fermented foods. But maybe a B complex or a methyl B, because that'll make SAMe, which then converts serotonin to melatonin so you can sleep. Same things for GABA production. Again, not taking the precursors for GABA because you already eat those things. You have those things, and the conversions are pretty simple. So really, that doesn't tend to be the big issue with this. So more sleep hygiene. And is there anything we didn't talk about? Okay, so post your guys' questions. Valerie says wearing socks helps me sleep through the night. Oh my God, I cannot sleep with socks on or pants on or shirts on. Like I don't know. I think it's the heat thing. Like that drives me crazy. But then some people, we'll call them women, tend to wear like thick hunting socks and they sleep better. So I don't know. Maybe it's a guy thing. Maybe it's a sexist thing. I don't know. Are there women here that don't sleep with their socks on and sleep better? Or is that really more... Oh, so okay, Deb says, I hate socks on at night. So it is a sexist thing. I'm wrong. So it's an individual thing. We all make mistakes. Okay, so next week on the Dr. G show, we're going to have our first international show, and Carrie McDowell, who's on tonight, is going to join us, and from Australia, which is, wasn't that what, didn't they call that Germany? I think that was where World War I, no, that's Austria. She's the other direction. I think Australia is like a suburb of like New Zealand or something. I don't know how that works. I don't know. So, I think Australians are Kiwis. I don't know. Is that right? Is that right, Carrie? But anyways, we're going to talk about eating nature. And so Carrie's going to talk about this. I know Tara that lives in Newton that teaches yoga. She posted something about wild lettuce and stuff and flowers that she was eating. And I was like, that's amazing. So I've been posting stuff where, okay, so my friend Calvin said, you told Sabrina, like, there's something wrong with Patrick. He's posting all these pictures of him eating weeds. Is he really eating weeds? So, yes, I am. So when I pick the flowers off the basil, I eat those, right? And I found lemongrass, I eat that. If I find Dandelions, I eat those. I've been doing that since I was a kid. And what's funny is I went on a walk with my daughters, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, you want some chicory?" And they're like pulling stuff off the ground and eating it. And so I taught them very well. But Ola, who's great at this too, occasionally I eat things and I'm like, this is what I think it is. And she's like, I don't think that's what that is. So instead of sage, I was eating wormwood, which is called Western sage. So was I wrong? I don't know. If a guy is wrong in the woods and no one's there to see it, is he still wrong? It's hard to tell. So I have been trying to figure out more things to eat. There's this wonderful field. I think there's yarrow, and I can't remember the other thing that I found, but I'm going to try to figure out what these are before I start eating them again. Carrie's going to, I think we're going to try an experiment here and see how this works. But I think she's going to go on location in Australia and like talk about the plants and stuff. And I'll try to get some weeds and stuff, and we'll talk about that. And there was a great book called Chasing the Wild Asparagus, which is a book that I bought. And I thought it was kind of lame in the beginning because it didn't have a whole lot in it. But why he does it, why they are eating this way, was very interesting to me. And then the other thing is they have wild eating parties, and I never even thought about that. But they're taking natural things that they're finding, and then they get together a couple times a year, and they make these incredible meals out of them. And I thought, that's amazing. Maybe there's more psychos out there than me eating the lawn. So maybe. Hiking with Ola, it was amazing. She was just like, there was 2 or 3 things that we ate along the trail. And one of the things I really liked was the world's mountain runner, world record for mountain running. That dude stops and eats stuff off the trees and eats sweet grass and stuff while he's running, and he still wins the race. So, I don't know. Oh, Megan says if a guy is wrong in the woods and nobody sees, he's still wrong. Teardrop. Okay, you guys. So next week's going to be kind of interesting. We're going to do a little experimental, multicultural live scenario thing. We're also going to try to get Connie back on for a show, and Scott Spradlin, and Holly Hajaj. So lots of cool stuff coming up. And post your questions as we go, as you guys want. I'll try to answer some of those offline. Post some topics that we haven't talked about that you guys want to hear. Brianna's helped me categorize some of these so I can name the old episodes. So that's going to be good. See, Valerie eats lamb quarters. Right? That's awesome. Alright, you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. Love you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to like it and share it. I really enjoy doing this. And it's always interesting to see what directions we go. So, alright. Have a good night. And I'm off. Bye-bye.